Good evening, good morning to everybody near and far. You ever wake up in the morning, you had a good sleep, but you wake up and your mind is punctuated with something like a terrier with a bone in its mouth, something that bothers you. And when I have that, I go straight to God. We're going to talk about some interesting things today. Some very interesting things. You may be able to relate. There's a verse in the Bible that is noteworthy. And it's in the book of Esther. Chapter 3. But when Haman saw that Mordecai neither bowed down nor paid homage to him, Haman was filled with rage. But he disdained to lay hands on Mordecai alone, for they had told him who the people of Mordecai were. Therefore, Haman sought to destroy all the Jews, the people of Mordecai, who were throughout the whole kingdom of Ahasuerus. And I don't know if I'm saying that right. Have you ever come up against somebody, male or female, that has a Messiah complex in the workplace, in a business, anywhere, a neighbor, somebody who thinks that you should recognize who they are, that they act like they're some sort of royalty or deity, and that you must tremble and approach them a certain way? Have you ever ran into people like that? They exist. There's a guy at work, and I call him little man syndrome, LMS, and it's a real dynamic. He's been there a while, and the only reason he has a job there is because nobody will do it for the pay. Most of his work involves driving a forklift. Sometimes it's getting a very old truck to pull trailers around on 26 acres. He's an unpleasant, crabby, constant smoking man, walking around with a cigarette in his mouth. He grumbles. He's a grouch. He's only a couple years older than me. He's actually shorter than me. He is a hard worker, but he's nice to his own kind. He'll never behave to his own kind or management the way he does to me. I don't work with him. He is rude. He is disrespectful. And I don't bow to him. I don't, because of the disrespect that he shows me, I don't value him. I don't care that he's worked there X amount of years. And I have let management know he's a very rude individual. And I don't take it. There was a Dominican Republic woman who got a job there. By day 2, she showed what her motive was. She didn't want to do what anybody told her. They sent her to me. She wanted to buck everything. She wanted to do her own thing. And then she ended up leaving the pack table, going out in the yard and helping this clown. And I'm going to talk about this as a Christian, that the man is married. He's African American. He's married to a black woman. And there's no doubt in my mind that he got a side piece or something going on, which is rampant in the culture down here. No conviction about being faithful to your one and only. And this guy is rude. You know, he complaining he's got so much to do. I would be told to bring a pick ticket and say, go ahead and give that to him because he'll have to pull that trailer. This guy will come up to me, man, you afraid to go in the trailer and get something? No, sir. Do I look like I'm afraid? Yeah, you do. I said, I'm not. I said, but if I go up in the door and you got 8 feet of stuff and I can't get to the nose of the trailer, I'm not going to go in there. His job is to pull it up and then get forklifts, pull the stuff off until they can find the item we're looking for. He growls and grumbles about it. Not to mention that where I work and live in Georgia, you go into some of those semi-trailers, the doors are damaged. The wasps get in there and build nests. And you start walking in there, you're going to get blasted. Not to mention to go to some of these trailers, there's tall Georgia weeds and grass, and there could be water moccasins, rattlesnakes. Yeah, my job has some dangers that don't make me too keen. Most of the time I'm in the warehouse. The guy's rude guy. He'll blast through on the forklift. But when he sees one of the brothers or the sisters, hey, good morning, man. Good morning. How you doing? Good morning. And a black lady comes to pick up the postal service parcels that I pack up. Oh, let me help you with that. Let me help you with that. You'd think, oh, he's being a gentleman. And I've tried to be nice. One day he came, they were towing a SUV of his away. I said, man, what's going on? He said, man, the engine seized up, man. I said, oh, I'm sorry to hear that. He said, oh, we're going to take care of it. So he's gone for a few days and he came back. I said, hey, did you get anywhere on your vehicle? Don't you worry about that. You don't need to worry about that. Don't even worry about that. What is this guy's problem? A black guy asked him the same thing right after he left me. Oh, I had to fight with the dealership. Oh, I told him I'm going to sue. Oh, you answered him. I'm going to tell you something as long as I live. I get sick and tired of hearing in the media and hearing by these people about all the racial discrimination. And you just showed it to me. I've been nice, and you think you can be a jerk to me. The problem is, and I was told this by a manager. Years ago, another black guy worked there. There's no assigned parking. He came up to me one day. I park in the lines. I don't have my tail end hanging over the lines. You know, you need to move your truck because I'm not responsible if I damage it. Rude. I kind of looked at him like, actually, you are. You back in a semi-trailer in the parking area and hit employees' cars. That's your fault. You drove trucks. If I hit somebody's vehicle, it's my fault. But I didn't argue with the clown. I thought, wow, this guy's a piece of work. He stands right at the the bay door to the warehouse smoking, cigarette wafting in there. You'll catch him talking away with somebody. He comes in the morning, goes right to his homies and shuts the door and has his little holy huddle with them. I'm sorry, but I'm saying this. I don't see anything in him that would even denote he's a Christian man. But we had this woman working there. This woman, you ever meet people that advertise themselves? Oh, yeah, I'm a hard worker. I'm good. I'm this. This Dominican Republican, she lives right around the corner from me. Oh, I work hard. I worked at this place, this place, this place. And it dawned on you, you worked at all these places, but you quit every single one of them, including this. She was his friend. I said, and I thought, uh-oh, I've already seen this guy in action and she's friends with him. So I said, how did you meet this guy? Oh, well, we met at the liquor store. That's kind of like the community for us. Yeah, you ever notice in the hood in America, they always got the liquor stores? Go to the gated communities. Go to the nice areas. There's liquor store anywhere for miles. I've always wondered about that. Why does zoning allow all the liquor stores to be in the bad areas of town? All the advertisements for lotto tickets. Guy came up to me one day. I'm in my truck doing a live on my lunch. Hey, man, real nice. Could you take me down the store? And I'm being nice. I did it. He went in there just to get his smokes. I'm not going to do that again. I mean, you eating in my lunch hour for this guy to get his smokes? And he's rude. And I'm not rude to him, but I've kind of set my face as a flint now. When he calls me, he's not respectful. He'll scream across the yard like I'm a dog. He does that again, I'm going to keep walking. Do you hear me? When you want to address me properly, I will respond. You ain't going to talk to me like a dog. Keep walking. You ever got people like that at work? Management comes around, they're suck up. There's no cameras in our place. That's a bad thing. Today, and I'm fast, but I went to the worker sink, washed up, moved away, and I was drying my glasses off and drying my hands with the towels, and I heard a noise behind me. I didn't even see him. He went into the bathroom, he come out. Excuse me, I'm in a hurry, excuse me. He didn't touch me. That's a good thing, because I would have lit up like a Roman rocket. And he grabs her paper towels and goes like this and shreds them. I gotta hurry, And when he got just about 20 feet away, I said, okay then. I let him whirl around and say something. He didn't. He complained to somebody that when I come down through the warehouse down one of the main aisles, we got a metal cart and I use it for all the heavy stuff. It's got metal wheels and I love it. It makes a ton of noise. But it lets somebody know I'm coming and I move. Everybody there says, get out of the way, Mike's coming. Then I don't hit people or anything. He will stop and glare and stand aside. Apparently that noise triggers him. And he told this DR woman about it. She said, oh, he can't. He said noise really gets to him. I said, have you heard him yelling all the time? A crotchety man. Supposedly he's got a year left. Man, that can't come soon enough. But he took a forklift 15 years ago. Black guy parked, started working there. He came up and rudely said, hey, you can't park there. That's my spot. He goes, no, it isn't. Well, you need to move. No, I don't. He got a forklift forcefully picked up his car and slammed it down. Police were called. He was fired. One of the then owners brought him back. That then owner always asked people, have you trusted Christ as Savior? Of course, anybody around here say, oh, yeah, man, I believe. That was a foolish decision by the owner. If this guy ever does something again, and it's me or anybody else in that nature, they're going to get their butt sued off for allowing somebody like that to come back who's abject danger. Welcome to Augusta, Georgia. I am seeing things down here that I never thought I'd say. This is true. There's no embellishment. This place is something else. Yesterday, I was able to avoid contact. He was so busy doing something that I didn't see him until the near end of the day. And he's got little man syndrome, and I ran into that. I ran into that in Virginia, Minnesota. Guy by the name of Tony, an Italian, short, squat. I don't carry myself to fight with people. I'm not into violence. I don't need to prove my manhood to anybody. I come to church to hear the truth. I come to work to do an honest day's work. Try to get along with people. I'm noticing it's very difficult in 2026 to get along with humans today. People have shifted, values have changed. Younger generation doesn't have what I have. It's such a loaded weapon out there now that, our society says you got to be very careful that you don't offend. But then you got those that offend, violate boundaries, and management will just treat them like an egg crate. Why? I won't do it. Now, I'm not going to go up and get in this guy's grill, but I'm not going to bow. I do not say good morning. He doesn't speak, except when he wants to make issue. And I told the supervisor, I said, every time I go back there and hand him one of these, he gives me a bunch of crap. Well, yeah, he's going to do that. Just hand it to him and walk away. And I wanted to say, why don't you do something about this, leadership? Why don't you say, hey, if you want to continue to be unprofessional, Mike, you can go. Because Mike can drive that truck. Mike can hook up a semi-trailer, and Mike can drive the forklift. We don't need you that much, buddy. In fact, one of the owners wants me to do that. And I communicated, I said, he ain't going to train me nothing. Grown men got a problem with other grown men, especially when you add in two factors. Number one, I'm not his race. Number two, for whatever reason, he doesn't like me. And that's the thing that I've seen. This has happened in every workplace. There's always one or a few. They have a Messiah complex. I've seen it with women. I'm going to share with you a story. Denver Public Schools. Very good-looking woman named Jennifer. She's Hispanic. When I first started there, extremely kind. I asked somebody how to get to this place and pick up this group and take them on. And she was so helpful. I'm like, right on. She was very good looking, but she was dating a very unattractive lesbian woman, which shocked me. She claimed to be a Christian. She claimed to be a conservative. And she would sit at a table with certain ladies. Some of them were rather crusty. In the 7 years I worked there, she moved from that table to the troublemaker table. And there's a guy, a white guy, that was constantly hoping so much to get a date with her. And I was nice to Jennifer. Jennifer, she knew how to play it. I remember I came to her bus at another school. She had a shirt with a button undone, and when she leaned forward and she was making sure I could see through the shirt and the whole thing. And I heard a pastor this morning. I should have got his name on YouTube, and it's the first of the kind addressing women. And I said, I've never in my Christian years ever heard a man confront women of this. This is amazing. When you got done with your routes, you were required to bring the route book to the terminal and stick it in the metal slot. Everything was numbered by buses. 2500, 1711, whatever. Somebody said, Mike, I need you to go ahead and cover that route. I'm going to have you covered. And I said, where's the route book? I'll go ask Jennifer. She's got it. And I came to her. I said, hey, Jennifer, you got that route book? I have to cover that. Yeah, it's in my bus. I said, oh, could you go get that? No, I'm not going to go get that. You can go get it. I said, actually, Jennifer, and I was polite. I said, we're required to bring that. I shouldn't have to go chase your bus around. You know, we had a huge acre lot. Boy, you better not start with me. You can go down and get it. I said, it's your job to bring it back. And then several of her little wicked friends piped up, you better watch it. I said, I better watch what? You think you got privilege? If I leave my route sheet in a bus, you guys are going to demand I go get it. And I noticed something. I walked right over to one of the supervisors. I said, hey. He goes, Mike, I saw that. I know what they're about. He said, just go get it. I said, but that ain't right. Why do people give a wide berth to the entitled brats in here? I said, I'm tired of it, sick of it. They're in every workplace. Every single workplace I've been, there's those. I'd love to be a supervisor. I'd say, Jen, come here. You can go out and get that route book, and if you don't want to do that, you clock out and take your butt home. The way you just handled Mr. Nelson was totally inappropriate, totally wrong, and you can take that entitlement right out of here. That's part of your job requirement. Go get that route book. Society in America today steps on eggshells with a race, with good-looking women, with a dominating, intimidating personality. Where's leadership? Why are people affected by that? Why do people bow down and do wide berths around people like that instead of saying, you know, and I've heard this in my workplace, well, that's just the way he is. That's just the way she is. And if you understood, they do a lot of good. Oh, I got it. Boy, I'm glad God's not like that. Well, Michael's basically good, so I'll let him into heaven, but I don't like that one over there. No, God has a standard, and if you miss the mark, and we're all sinners, God is fair, man is not. He nails everybody. Doesn't matter what looks you got. Doesn't matter if you got a Messiah complex. He said all have sinned and fallen short of the glory of God. But you go into the workplace, you go out there in society, you go into a neighborhood, and you got some tribal king can offend the entire neighborhood with his boom and rocketing through the neighborhood. God forbid you're the one that yells, slow down. Oh, he'll stop now. Put it in reverse. What'd you say? You need to slow down. Who the F are you? Yeah, that's the world we live in today. Privilege. I'm still trying to find the privilege card that everybody says I have. I've never been able to use it. Never. I get up, I go to work. I'm treated like scum by some of these people. I haven't even done anything to them. I didn't have slaves. I don't believe in slavery. Well, I do. We're all slaves. The Bible says you're either slaves of God or you're slaves of the devil. But I don't believe in owning slaves. I don't believe in mistreating people. We live in a jacked up world today. How do you deal with people like that? When management makes a wide berth, but he won't do that to the owners. I mean, he's oh, okay, man. Okay, no problem, man. Sucks up. He doesn't like me because my work ethic is just as solid steel as his, if not more. He doesn't like it because I'm white. He doesn't like it because I don't tremble. Because that does exist in a dynamic in his ethnicity that we're supposed to grovel and be afraid of them. I'm like Mordecai. Haman expected him to bow to him, and Mordecai was like, I ain't bowing to you. You ain't God. Yeah, you ever been in a workplace where you got to kiss up and do that to certain people? Men, grab your manhood. Women, grab your dignity. You should only bow to God. You don't bow to management. You do what management tells you. But you don't suck up and kiss up. When you do that, you're not trusting God. You do your job as under the Lord, but this crap that you got some installed king or messiah complex, I refuse to bow to him. You're going to yell at me like I'm a junkyard dog and expect me to respect you? Excuse me, you're only 2 years older than me. You think you got age? You think you've been here? It's like putting the loudmouth brat girl at high school and making her the manager of the local Dairy Queen. Oh boy. That works well. I remember going to Cheyenne, Wyoming years ago. Talk about a butthole town. I hate to say it, but there's some butthole towns even out west. You go into the local whatever and you got Miss ex cheerleader running the desk, rude, no people skills. Wow, how did she get this job? Who did she open her pants for? You can't help but think it. It just amazes me. That's the world system that God talks about. How do you deal with the clowns in the workplace? And you got people that carry themselves with this dominating, intimidating persona, and most people will be like, oh, it's amazing how one person can have that much authority and power. That's satanic. That's demonic. I refuse to bow to the devil. I can't change somebody, but I just get the feeling this is going to come to a head because his pride and his arrogance. He's going to do something that's going to cross a line where I'm going to be forced to say, not today, Satan. I don't know who you think you are. I don't care if you've been here 50,000 freaking years. You cannot treat me like this. I don't care what kind of dysfunction you got. I don't care if everybody steps on eggshells around you. My name is Michael Nelson, and I have work. By God, get away from me, devil. Woo! And you got that in every workplace. Every single one. This guy, Tony, years ago, I tried very hard to walk and tried to live this. And it's hard. I admit now, I cannot live the Christian life to perfection. It's an impossibility. There was a guy named Tony. He's teaching Sunday school at Emmanuel Baptist Church in don't remember if the address was Eveleth or Virginia, but it was right off Highway 53. Tony was an Italian guy. They were in the minority up there. It's mostly Norwegian, and Finnish and Scandinavian cultures. And Tony was very bombast and braggadocio. He liked to speed, not just 5 or 10 over. He bragged that he went from Virginia, Minnesota, the Thunderbird Mall to the Miller Hill Mall in Duluth and went 100 miles an hour the whole way. Every conversation, he'd brag about speeding. I'm a Christian. I'm not perfect, but I take driving very seriously. And one day I came out of church, exited the parking lot, came down to 53, stopped, made a right. Tony had a minivan and a wife, and his wife had no personality. She would not smile or speak or say hi. And his kids in the back, the second row seats in the minivan, and he tore around me. I mean, I got up to 55 or whatever the speed limit was, and he tore around me, whipped back in the lane, no signal, just hauling. Thought, this guy, I sent him a letter. I said, Tony, I've kept my mouth shut, but I'm writing you this letter to not be confrontive. Every time I'm at church, you're bragging about breaking the speed limit, breaking the law, and driving crazy. And I said, and I just saw you today. You got kids in the car, your wife, who if anybody tried to harm her, you'd kill them. And you're driving dangerous. And you might want to consider about, you are a Christian, you teach Sunday school, and that's not good. And I wasn't rude. Monday came. I think I sent that out on a Thursday or Friday. Monday, I worked at the school, and he'd drop off one of his kids. And he pulled up in the line, didn't say a word to me, dropped off the kid, left. Wednesday night, I go to Wednesday service. The local high school basketball coach hosted the Bible study. And let me give you a backdrop of the town. About 7,900 people in Virginia, a mining community. You had people there, they would never say hello to me. Very cliquey, very hateful of outsiders. They called anybody from outside the Iron Range pack sackers. They're stigmatizing word. And their culture up there wasn't anything to brag about. Lots of alcoholism, lots of wife abuse. It's a mining community, pretty dark. Big open iron ore pit mines with 2.5-story dump trucks. I've climbed up on some of them. They're impressive pieces of machinery. If a pickup gets too close to your front, you can't see it. If it's behind you, even with your mirror, you cannot see the truck. You go on 53 outside one of the mines at Eveleth. There's exactly the truck I had, like a 95 F-150 red, crushed, square body, crushed flatter than a pancake. And they got a digital sign, so many days without an accident. And that truck was one of the foreman's truck. And he had parked right behind one of these Euclids. And the guy can't see it. Puts that big truck in a reverse, and you don't even feel it. Just smashed it. You come down the highway and you see that. It's a big world in the mine. And I sat there. Tony was in there. Tony was extremely cocky. He bragged about everything. He bragged about kicking people's butts. The Sunday school teacher, tough talking, rude. And after the Sunday, the Wednesday night message ended, I calmly walked out, started down the hall. He yells my name. And with a barrage of profanity, the F word, on, yelling. There's kids coming out of rooms. I got that letter. I about came over to your house and effing killed you. I said, really, Tony, for a letter? I wasn't rude enough. You can take your self-righteous ASS and blah, blah, blah. I said, Tony, you drove stupid around me, and I felt the need to address it. You're always bragging, and you're threatening me, and you're yelling and cussing in front of all these people. The basketball coach, none of those other minor 49ers came out and said, hey, that's not appropriate, Tony. And that was a lesson for Michael, because the Bible tells us when you have something against another brother, you're supposed to take it to them. So I did that, and I did it privately through a letter, so it would be non-confrontational. I wasn't rude. I just laid out the facts. I said, you're a Sunday school teacher, you're a husband. That's not a good witness, and that's not good. And I said, you're endangering your own kids and your own wife driving like that. My son, I went upstairs to get my son, and my son's like, what? I said, let's go. Guys yelling and screaming, and one guy who was his friend said, Tony, stop, Tony. Because Tony was going to come out and try to harm me. I walked right out the door. We got in the truck. Got home, told my wife, because she didn't go, and she goes, he's always been a powder keg. I said, man, well, I apparently lit the fuse. And he called. And he said, hey, Mike, I'm sorry. I shouldn't have done that. I'm sorry. And I was so shocked by all this. And he didn't do it sincerely. I called the pastor on Monday or the next day, and I told him what happened. I said, we need to have a meeting, because this was explosive. The profanity, the whole church heard it. Pastor did not do it. He didn't ask to see the letter. He didn't call him in, me in, anything. Even a pastor, even a church was not going to take on Tony. And that taught me I will never confront somebody again. We call it the Matthew 14 or whatever, the Matthew principle. When you have something against your brother, go tell him his fault alone. If he will not listen to you, then take it to the church. If I'd have been the pastor, I would have said, I want to copy that letter, Tony. And right now, with what I'm hearing from Mr. Nelson, you are removed from Sunday school teaching. That outburst in the church is not okay. But I want to see the letter. I'm going to have a talk with Mr. Nelson, and we'll decide what we're going to do. And I would have read it and said, so what's the problem here? He addressed the problem, and he's right. You're breaking the law, and you brag. You stand in the church bragging to everybody about your speeding every time. Mike, come in here, you hear this. And then you drive reckless around him in his truck with your wife and kids. He had every right to talk about that. And the letter wasn't nasty. And you come in the church and act like that, and not one of the men. I'm going to be addressing this on Sunday. We're supposed to grow. I was saying, you men, shame on you for not dealing with this outburst. This clickiness and this crap needs to end. I tell you what, I've seen a lot of stuff in my life, and the psychology and the dynamics of a bad person and the dysfunction of society that should be saying, you're not going to do this. How does society back up over one clown? Look at what the media did with this. Oops, if I don't turn off my screen, that'd help. Look at what the media did with this one. And the question being asked is, would you agree with the George Floyd statues being taken down in America? Oh yeah, a criminal held a gun to a pregnant woman's belly. Nobody cared about that. Nobody, not the media, not his own community. Nobody cared that he held was armed and was robbing a black woman holding a gun to her belly. So much for women's rights. And then he's passing a counterfeit bill in Minneapolis in a C-store. And then the clerk told him, you can put that item down and we'll drop this issue. And being the usual suspect, he's like, no, I ain't going to do that. Then we had the whole debacle, the media circus, claiming that Officer Chauvin killed him. George Floyd was loaded up on fentanyl, 1, had COVID, 2, 3, had a heart condition. And the whole nation saw the video with Chauvin's knee on the neck. I can't breathe. The guy was a huge guy, much bigger than Chauvin. And it was legal. And it was part of police procedure that you could use a knee at the back of the neck to do a hold. He was not asphyxiating the airway. The fact that you can talk and say, I can't breathe, it takes oxygen to speak. Grown people couldn't figure that one out. But MSNBC or whoever aired the story first, the damage was done. And only a month or two later did the other body cam come out showing where they had first taken that clown and attempted to put him in the police car, and he did the toddler effect. Instead of sitting up in the seat, letting Chauvin and them shut the door and let's go through the justice and handle it that way. No, he laid lengthwise and rolled onto the floor. And he was saying, I can't breathe, I can't breathe. His face wasn't on the floor mat. He couldn't breathe because he had loaded up higher than a kite on fentanyl. And then here in Augusta, the ethnic community, suddenly I'm going in public and they got black masks on, says, I can't breathe. I thought, oh, good gracious. Now we're going to make this a damn racial issue. Again, how many times in my life have I watched this happen? And I'm seeing it in my workplace. I'm seeing it all around me. And you're not allowed to talk about it. Whites are not allowed to talk about it. I lost my job at transportation because I dared to stand up for a white woman coming out of a jazz festival who's brutally beaten by 6 of his relatives. That's crazy. I don't use the N-word. I don't support racism by anyone, them or my group, Caucasian, whatever. Why in the hell should we erect a statue of this clown? And then the media, talking about white privilege. The city council in Minneapolis, oh, wanting to be safe is a form of racism. What? So, isn't it interesting that every time the media stirs the pot, that the riots never take place in the gated communities? No, they take place in their own or downtown. Wipe out the Dollar Tree, wipe out AutoZone, wipe out Wendy's. And then when all the businesses pull out, then they yell discrimination. When Walmart pulls out of Portland, Walmart pulls out of Baltimore, because of the constant theft. And that community says, oh, it's racism. Dude, if I have a company and they're robbing the hell out of my store, I'm going to shut it down. That's a loss, not a profit. You can't act like grown people and pay for it and respect the store. I look at what happened with Rodney King. Did anybody take to the streets about that Korean shop owner who dared to open a business in the heart of South Central LA? He didn't do nothing. He had nothing to do with Rodney King. And they tore up their own neighborhood, tore up their own stores, spray painted the Korean shop owner in the face. A truck driver, a white truck driver, stopped to help somebody, and they attacked the heck out of him. The firefighters were shot at. I'm getting tired of being confined by society. I should have a bullhorn and should be on the Capitol steps, and everybody in America should be required to hear what I have to say. Because whites have been jammed into reverse. Don't you dare speak about this. You'll lose your job. They'll come after you. It's ridiculous. They can go like this all day long, and I can't say, excuse me, hold on. Freedom of speech for some, denied for others. If a black woman had been brutally beaten in Cincinnati coming out of a jazz festival by 6 white men and women, we know what would have happened in Cincinnati. But when a white woman was beaten down, did the white community take to the streets? Did they riot? Did they steal TVs? Did they flip over cop cars and bust plate glass windows of the businesses? No, they didn't. Did the black women, have the black women ever taken to the streets? Black women, why have you not taken the streets for the way you're loved and left by your own kind? 75% of black women are raising their kids alone. But then you all jump in there and talk about white privilege. Why are you defending your men? Why would you do that? And the media painted this clown as a hero, that thing, made statues out of him. In Ohio, I think, now, I gotta get my states right. Somebody painted on an old brick building a big mural of George Floyd on the old brickwork. I kid you not, and even a black YouTube artist talked about this, and he was spot on with what he said. A bolt of lightning hit straight center at the face of Floyd, blew the bricks out of the wall. It was on the news. And the black guy said, clearly God had said, I've had enough of this. You know, God says, I will share my glory with no other, and God's not going to share his glory with a law-breaking clown. And our society exalts that. I'm working in a place where they give a wide berth to one loudmouth, one guy who got an attitude and a batitude. I don't like that. I'm like Mordecai. Who's this clown that I should bow and no? Bible tells me give respect to whom respect is due, honor to whom honor is due. I do not have to honor and respect that, or Floyd, or the clown at work. I need to be respectful in my conduct at work. But Christians not confronting this. Christians have bought into that Kool-Aid. Well, we don't want to offend. What? Wait a minute. What's all that about? I don't think I'm going to find this with ease, but he says, you are the salt of the earth. Do you know about the properties of salt? Do you know about the properties of salt? Salt used to be used before refrigeration to preserve meat. You pack it in salt that kept it from rotting and putrefying. Salt is also used to melt snow and ice. You get salt in the eyes, you'll never forget it. You're the salt of the earth. Salt also flavors. So, and the Bible says something that to the one, we as Christians, to the one, we're the aroma, the fragrance of life. To those that are perishing and refuse to love the truth, we're the aroma of death. That's why this old coot at work don't like me. I'm a death sentence. Because I have a relationship with Christ, and the light in me shines on his darkness, and he hates that. That's why, Christians, you have trouble with certain people that nobody else seems to. The world doesn't have trouble with them because they're all in the same place, darkness. This is another thing I wanted to bring up. They had the May Day protest. These are the same people shouting about global warming and wrecking the environment. After they leave, this is what they leave behind. You see all that garbage? I notice in my workplace, the smokers, all of them, are litter bug filthy pigs. Throw their butts on the ground. That's littering in Georgia. Remember the school teachers years ago that picketed and protested in Milwaukee? About higher wages and all this. They defecated, urinated, left their trash all over the place. The same ones screaming about ruining the environment. They were ruining the environment. And I'm going to say it again. Why would you get behind clowns that don't model what they claim to believe? You got one group of people yelling about white privilege. I'm watching it go on with them every day of the year. People give them a wide berth. The cops, society. I'm not racist, but I'll be damned if they or the media or the liberals are going to muzzle me and tell me I can't make observations. You know what? Science is making, conducting an experiment and recording your observations. And I didn't even conduct the experiment. I watch people and I comment on what they're doing. And that really angers Americans because how dare you notice our hypocrisy? They hate that. As a sidebar, I was informed by one of my regulars that one of the guys that's claiming to be a girl, who's a guy, is now saying he's Jesus Christ. Okay, dude. And you complained about my video saying America's a mental institution. Look at that picture. Let's take a tour of mental. This is mentally ill. This is mentally ill. That guy complaining and constantly nagging on my channel is mentally ill. I mean, it is when you got an entire company And you got an entire dominant, let me rephrase that, a majority culture that's backing up and walking on eggshells so as not to offend the 13 percenters that the reason things have happened the way they've happened. We're not in the slave days anymore. I mean, we are, but in a different way. Nobody's holding black people down. Nobody. They're mayors, governors, presidents. They can pull down. Oprah Winfrey's worth billions of dollars. Nobody's stopping them. And for them to keep beating on this old drum is getting old. And they've gotten so ridiculous about it that just me to talk about, even some women coming in my room that are of that color get angry that I dare to say the word black. So you never talk about whites, do you? Never say the word whites, do you? There's no other way to couch it. It's not racism. It's pattern recognition. If I was to go into the black community and yell the N-word and show racial hatred, and you guys were to comment on the fact of what I'm doing, could I turn around and say, well, you're racist talking about me? No, they're making an observation. So how come when I make an observation that's based in total truth, I'm a racist? Man, I go to work and I see the effects of this poison. Everybody got to step around on eggshells. Guy came in last week, pulls his truck right up the bay door, gets out and he walks, limping and groaning and what's, I would have said, hey, you okay? No, you don't ask him that. If I asked, hey, don't you worry about that. Okay, you got mental disorder. Why are you treating me this way? Because you're white. Because you don't bow to him. Because you don't play that game. Because you're genuine. I've noticed something in this society. You want to talk about who's discriminated against? You want to talk about who's bullied? You want to talk about where society gangs up and laughs? Right here. When you are real and you're transparent and you refuse to bow and play the game of thrones with self-styled messiah complex, egotistical little man syndrome people, you're going to have problems. I should only bow to God, not your sorry butt. And you got that all through the U.S. It's not just with him. You got women like that. Oh, I'm good looking. So what? I tell you what. When I became a Christian, I noticed I don't have to do anything for problems to happen. All I have to do is get in my truck, get on the road, go to work. Bam! Here comes the lightning. Here comes the storm. I am the lightning rod. Zzz. Sports. I watched a video this morning on sports. Everybody at work rally around the sports flagpole. Man, did you see that play? Man, that was awesome. Going on and on and on. That's cool. I have zero interest in sports. I have zero interest in SUVs. I have zero interest in Starbucks. I have zero interest in dogs and pets. Do you know what I go through? Do you care? People don't like the fact when you don't do what they do. When you don't walk, talk, dress, get excited, in the know, didn't see that movie, don't like that song. People talk about bullying, people talk about privilege, people talk about racism. Not one CNN van has ever pulled up to my house and aired my story. Why in the hell would they do that? I'm not the only one. I'm not alone. I do not want to be like anybody else. Because there's nothing in most people that excites me or makes me jealous or desirous of them. I go to work to do my best. You can't just go to your job. Let's break this down and shake this down. There are black people that come onto my channel, and they're here because of truth. And Christians, trying not to offend people, you do offend when you do this. When you throw scripture at something you don't like and you keep harassing somebody for it. But you refuse to talk about these big issues. You're not winning black people to your church by doing that. Because I have found that black people may not agree with me, but they'll say, but at least you know where Mike stands. I've had black people tell me to my face, I've never seen you as racist. You have a right to your opinion. Wow. You mean to tell me there's well-adjusted blacks out there? Yes, there are. The media doesn't focus on them. They focus on the Jesse, well, he's gone now. Jesse Jackson, Al Sharpton, and the rabble-rousers, and George Floyd, and Rodney King, and Michael Brown, and O.J. Simpson, that they were poor victims of systemic racism. All of them were guilty of criminal behavior. Bible says, submit to the governing authorities, for they bear not the sword in vain. I don't hear one black preacher preaching that in a church anywhere in America. You mean to tell your people how to act out there? You want to talk about white racism? Well, you know what? When you're using counterfeit money in the store, when you're on a high-speed chase, start with that. You want to talk about police brutality? Rodney King's got everybody's adrenaline going. Let me ask you a question. You got a mother. Say she got 7 kids and she just came back from church and she's in a station wagon coming home. She hasn't done anything wrong to nobody. Say Rodney King plowed into her wagon, killed her and all the kids. Would the black community have protested that? They wouldn't have given a shite. And that is why I speak. You all worried about somebody in your community dying you didn't even know about that person. You didn't even care about that person. You didn't even bother to try to tell him to change and mend his ways. But now, because it's in the news and the news knows what they're doing, they edit and splice and they put out the truth, put it away from the actual story, and they run an emotionally drama-causing, predictable reaction. Free TVs and destruction everywhere. And I got to go to work, even for a Christian-owned company, and I have to feel this undercurrent. I've done nothing wrong to the African-American community. I was adopted. I was rejected by my one mother, and the mother that adopted me was abusive. I didn't grow up to be racist. How do you deal with clowns? The company never should have brought him back. Never. You took a forklift to one of your own colored people because you think you're the big kahuna. And you see it all day. You see it all day. Rude to me consistently. I've never done anything to him. Somebody said he doesn't feel that you have any worth. I said, well, Lottie freaking Daw. He doesn't have any worth to me either. I don't care that he's been here. I don't care. That's small town BS. Why is it that our society, we had that at Denver schools. We had a Hispanic woman, Stephanie. She ran the desk of the terminal manager. Hispanics, blacks, whites, and Asians complained about her. All ethnicities. She's so rude, Mike. She had a face that looked like melted candle wax, you know. You go in there, and she glares at you when you come to her desk. You got to get the physical form, the consent form to get your DOT renewed. Dealing with her on any level was unpleasant. And I'm an activist too. You do that, I'm going to say something. Not to her. She's right outside the terminal manager's office. I said, I need to talk to you. I said, every time I go, this woman is rude, unprofessional. I said, it makes us feel bad for having her. And you know what she said? Nita said, Mike, that's just the way she is. If you knew how much she does for you. I said, Nita, what about us? We're driving routes. Don't I do a lot for you? What about the rest of us? Well, caste system. If you're able to blow smoke up somebody's butt cheeks, you get rank in America. What does the Bible have to say about that? So because they massage your ego, they get a free pass to treat everybody else with disrespect. Never mind the fact that she's sitting in an air-conditioned office and we're out there in buses in the heat, in the ice storms, in the cold, with kids, with traffic. Man, she got a maid in here. You can be a complete royal robo-BI. And it's okay for her to be like that. That we come in off the road to face this melted candle wax yuckster. And she's the same way this clown at work. Nice to her own friendly little cliquey Hispanic-y groupie. Even the black women at Denver schools at the Hilltop Terminal said, you notice they favor the Hispanics here? I said, oh yeah. But when I was at Northeast Terminal, the blacks favor the blacks. I've seen it with every single race. Filipinos come to America, they gravitate to the other Filipinos, they all get together, and to hell with everybody else. People do that. People do that. They gravitate to their comfort zone. I never have, because I don't have one. You know why? Because God has made me contrary to normalcy. So many Christians just drift like sewage down the channel. Just drift. We don't want to offend. Sewage and poop all floating down. Wow. I tell you what, I don't know about you all, but it's hard for me to live in this world. Because let's read this. Then to Adam he said, because you have listened to the voice of your wife and have eaten from the tree about which I commanded you, saying, you shall not eat from it. Cursed is the ground because of you. In toil you shall eat of it all the days of your life. Both thorns and thistles it shall grow for you. And you shall eat the plants of the field. By the sweat of your face you shall eat bread till you return to the ground, because from it you were taken. For you are dust, and to dust you shall return. All we are is dust in the wind, dust in the wind. Do people really think about that? The devotion this morning was talking about we should be aware of the fact we're all going to die someday. Ecclesiastes 7:2 says, death is the destiny of everyone. The living should take this to heart. Do you know why this clown and people that I'm talking about act this way? Because they don't realize they're going to die one day. And when they leave, you think a statue is going to be made of you? No. I don't want a statue made of me. I don't care what city I've been in. Every statue, the pigeons land on it, and that's not a way to honor anybody. I don't want a statue of me. The Philippines revere Rizal. Rizal had many, many wives. You know, I've said it over and over again. Homo erectus. Homo sapiens erectus foolishnesses, statuary of clowns. Only for birds to. I remember seeing a lighthouse and it cracked me up. It was on a little spit of rock land. The entire lighthouse was covered in pigeon poo. I had a calendar and I wrote all in the margins, all around it. I said, pigeon poo paint, a brand you can trust, always sticks. I washed my truck. Colorado, you're playing dodgeball with winter and they put that mag chloride, which just eats everything up. And when you have one nice day that they open the car wash and I pump the quarters in and spray it off, a beautiful day. I come out after routes, dang pigeon right on the hood. I said, man, what is up with this? I swear, they aim for your vehicle as soon as you wash it. I was on Lake Superior in Duluth. The wind was blasting out of the northeast, and the waves were kicking up. And it was blowing so hard, I was staggering to walk. And I saw the seagull. I said, look at that seagull in that wind. He was out hundreds of feet. And I kid you not, the wind was blowing, the seagull was even with me, and all of a sudden I felt, I went, oh my gosh, that son of a gun pooped out over the lake, and because of the strength of the wind, it dead nail bullseye the side of my face. I'm like, ah! It was raining. I said, you little poopy butt bird. I'll tell you what. True story. Nobody was around to see it, thank God. Nobody was foolish enough to walk around in that weather, just me. I like seeing the power of God. Sports. Everybody at work. And especially that community over there. That's all they talk about. Rappers and sports. Rappers and sports. Harassment is going to come when you do not walk according to their ways. You don't get into Starbucks. You don't get into dogs. You don't get into SUVs. You don't get into sports. You don't follow the crowds, Christian or non. You are going to be called weird. You are going to be ostracized. You're not going to be invited to their reindeer games. You are going to face certain types of persecution and harassment. Fact. Absolute fact. And that's driven me over the years to do stuff like this. Wear what I want. It doesn't matter what I do. I'm going to be made fun of and criticized no matter what. So why not give them a reason to criticize? People don't realize that about me. I'm smarter than people think. I do what I do. I'm like, they're going to criticize me no matter what. So I do that. It's not harming anybody. It's not hurting anybody. And it's fun to conduct a scientific experiment, me do that, and observe the data. WTF. The one I like the most is, what the F are you wearing? You don't know what I'm wearing. You cannot tell by looking at it. What is that? It's a lace top. I mean, you're an American and you're asking what I'm wearing. Is that even a valid question? Why would you ask that? Because people are stupid, professing to be wise. They're fools. They're asking that in an antagonistic, they're not asking a legit question, wanting a legit answer. It's their way of letting everybody know that they're the definition of got it together and I'm not. On the contrary, the mental institution are the ones that claim to have it together. I'm here to prove that every day. Did you ever see What About Bob? It's a good flick. It's a good movie. There's some principles I learned in that. That guy that was afraid to touch the doorknob and everything versus the corporate psychologist. The more uptight people tend to have heart attacks, high blood pressure. They dot their I's and cross their T's, but they're uptight. And I can be like that too. And I'm trying to say, you know what? Relax. Don't do it. Mike, why don't you try to be friends with this guy? No. I've tried to be nice. So I don't say good morning. I don't talk to him because he'll walk right in there. Every black person, hey man, how you doing? Hey man, what's up? I'm so sick of hearing about racism. Just that alone, you won't speak to me. I haven't even done anything to you. I work hard. And you've even complained to me about a black guy that used to be in the shipping shack that didn't do anything. I said, I agree with you. He complained to me about having to go to these trailers. I didn't even bother telling him, dude, do you know I'm the only one pulling the tickets? My supervisor had to help me yesterday. The guy that was with me is in jail. I didn't bother to tell this clown. I work just as hard as you, bud. But you want all the recognition. You want to kiss butt. You want everybody to think that you're the big dog. Well, guess what? I don't believe in that. I do not, as a white man, believe that I need to bow just because you're black and you're the big dog. I bow before my God and not you. I don't care what color you are. I don't submit to this women domination and a black domination or a white domination or a CEO domination. You know, preachers are going back to this suit and tie crap. Hey, if you want to dress to the nines, that's your business. But if you think that makes you more spiritual and closer to God because you're wearing a three-piece suit, you better guess again. Because those big boys in the suits and ties are in the back alley doing prostitutes and gay people too. Save it. Save it. So tired of this so-called professional acting. You've got people like that all around us. You got them in the neighborhood. They're going to drive and act and disturb everybody on their street. You stand up and confront that, oh, you're going to have a problem. It's called tribalism. It's all around us. And whites have done it too. You got your Karen neighborhoods. You got your upper end neighborhoods. You got that one rich guy who's got the brattiest kid of all. Rockets down the street, thump, thump at 2 a.m. Neighbors go up. Hey, man, can you get control of your son? Now, don't be talking about my boy. I tell you what, Messiah complex, that everybody has to bow and fold around them. And those same people will judge me for what I wear. I don't think I'm God, and I don't think I'm the chief of the damn island. I don't know where you get off thinking you are. It's a village, idiot, and you are the village, idiot. Show some respect to your neighbors. Love your neighbors yourself. I remember Alan was a sales guy at Mountain State Truck Center. He was our number one Isuzu sales guy. He didn't even have to sell them. Those trucks sell themselves. And we were riding back from delivering a truck. He said, yeah, I live in a covenant community. He said, Mike, he said, one of the guys that's on the board, his son drives through the neighborhood blasting his music. He's almost hit people. We've gone to him and said, you need to do something about your boy. And he gives us all an attitude. He said, I hate covenant, Mike. He said, it doesn't work because you get all the corrupt people on the board and they can do whatever they want. When you come up against a woman, a man that has that mentality, very hard to deal with those people, especially when you're at work, and they're going to be a problem, especially when you don't kiss up, when you don't bow, when you don't, show some sort of thing that they want you to. You know what? I don't know why you think you got a right to some sort of Messiah complex privilege. I'm here to work, dude. And you think you're the grand kahuna. The minute you step off of this property, nobody knows who you are. Nobody gives a rat's patootie. You got people in their cars. They got a Messiah complex. They bought a car. They listen to offensive, loud mouth music and pimpy rims, and they think that they are the authority. They're the tribal kahuna. Oh my gosh. And people are getting mad at my video saying America's a mental institution. It is. It truly is. And the way you get free from that is you become a Christian. You get the Holy Spirit and you dig deeper and you get the wisdom and knowledge of God. And He teaches you to unpack and discern and see what really is. And the Christian should be like Mordecai. I don't care who you are, Haman. You're not over me. You're not. And even if you were my supervisor, I don't give you the right to treat me like that. As a child of God, I have rights by God. As an American citizen, I have citizen rights. In a workplace, I have rights. And what you got is workplaces bowing to the worst of the worst. And it's always, unfortunately, you go back to 40s, 50s, favoritism. You got the snide, rude woman at the front desk who's doing favors for the boss. Go ahead and call and complain. Guy just trained his, you know what? He ain't going to do anything about it. She just made him feel awesome. That's the reality. And what you need to learn is look at people. Look at this clown I'm talking about at work. Can you imagine if they were a sovereign Lord, they'd have you killed. So when you see these crappy people, just be glad that your Jesus Christ isn't that way. Be glad that Jesus Christ took on the nature of a servant. He condescended by becoming a man and gave up his life. And you got all these people running around in our world that just got a Messiah complex. And people, even other Christians, letting them do that. And the reason I don't get along with people like that is because I'm a bulldozer. If I was in authority, I'd put the blade down and say, I don't care how much work you do. I watch the way you're treating this guy. That stuff going to stop or you're out. You're rude and it needs to stop. Period. I'm not going to say that's just the way. Well, that's just the way you are. Well, take that way you are and go somewhere else and work. I'll have to accept it. Because I noticed something in life. The same people say that's just the way she is. If I was to start showing that, I'd be in trouble. Favoritism, double standards. I'm not perfect. And I don't model perfection. I model the truth. I tell you stories that are not fudged. I tell you what I'm going through. I talk about all aspects of life to be a touchstone for people because you women, you men, you all have the same thing. You all know who and what I'm talking about. You got yours. You got that person just on their side that makes you grind inside. And I agree with Randy Stonehill. It's a great, big, stupid world. Work is hard enough. We're under a curse, God says. And then, if that isn't enough, you got to deal with head games and power trips. I think, can you imagine being his wife? All that smoking would suck. Can you imagine being in the household under a guy like that? Oppressive. And I can already tell you, he's going to make his wife give in to what he wants. And this Dominican Republic girl, she had one motive to get there. She wanted to drive the forklift and be his buddy. She went to the shop. She tried to boss the foreman of the shop around. He said the same exact assessment of her that I did and our shipping clerk did. But because she's friends with this guy, and then he told me, they fired her. I said, no, they did not. She quit. Well, can you blame her? Look at what goes on around here. And I almost said, you are not objective. That's your friend. She worked for me. She didn't want to follow directions. She wanted to be a bossy butt. And instead of being at the pack table, she out there helping you. And she was not given that consent. She said to the supervisor, oh, the reason people don't like me is because I'm a straight woman and I'm not a lesbian. And they don't like me because I'm a minority. We got more blacks working in our warehouse than whites. And the company's owned by white people. Hello? Good night. Racism is always the card played by people who have no other argument. Can't stand on fact. Can't look at yourself in the mirror. It's always the race card. This is the most embarrassing debacle of American society. Making a statue of a clown. Nobody cared about him. Nobody from the community tried to tell him, you better straighten up. No, they made a hero out of him because of his wanton rebellion against all authority. I wonder when and if that community's ever going to wake up. This guy at work, when he stands before God, does he really think he's going to kahuna his way to God? God's going to look him in the eye and say, "Depart from me, I never knew you." I mean, I think out of all the ethnic communities out there, that specific 13% in the US is going to be in for a rude awakening when they stand before the Almighty God. All their screaming and yelling racism, systemic racism. God's going to say, "You didn't follow my word. You voted in for the color of their skin. You guys were showing racism, discrimination. You favor your own. You only like your music, your ways, your food. You have disdain and hatred. You show favoritism for your color." Oh, he's going to lay it out there. And I can't wait for that day. God's going to tell every one of us those things we missed, those blind spots we had about ourselves with perfection. When you believe the truth, when you get saved, I never wanted to be a lightning rod. But well, I have discovered that when you do not follow the flow, whatever it is, the sports flow, the Taylor Swift, the Hollywood, the Oscars, I could care less about. If Hollywood and sports were to go away, may. And life goes on. It's a game, and they're paid too much. But I got to go to work. We're under a curse by the sweating and the thorns, and then you got the curse that people bring to the job place, the favoritism, the raw humanity, where you could suffer. You could be the best worker there, and you're going to suffer just because they're going to treat other people better than you, or they're going to give the clowns a wide berth, and then the clowns start pointing and poking at you. It's a vicious world, folks. And the older I get, I really believe, come Lord Jesus, this world is not paradise. It's broken. It's busted. Bible says the creation groans in travail as a woman with child, the birth pains. I don't like being in the presence of oppressive, God complex fools. Don't like it. You got a grown man. He's so busy, but he'll come all the way down to our side. He has no business down there. Kissing up to the black postal lady. Dude, you're not going to get a date with her. You got a wife. Then you had your side piece with the Dominican Republic lady, and you're mad because she quit. And I noticed he let her drive his forklift. He driving off with her lunch. I'm like, wow, if I was his wife, I'd be like, I'm not okay with that. I mean, I'm sorry. The next time he comes up, can you give it? No, sir. I'm on my break. And if he says anything, I say, you've been rude to me since I started here. Get away from my truck. Don't talk to me. I know what you're all about. Don't bother me. What I've noticed in life is the workplace does not deal with the problem people. What I've noticed about management in any place, they'll only deal with something when it bothers their ego or hurts their bottom line. Doesn't matter if your feelings are hurt or you're being harassed. If it doesn't affect them, they don't care. They won't do anything about it. That's the lesson I've learned all across the American landscape. So the workplace is not a model of Christ. It's a model of a broken, jacked up world that shows favoritism, that all people care about is their money. If it ain't affecting them, too bad. Preacher was talking about on YouTube, I listened to, men have a problem with lust, and he said that the women all around, you can go 360 degrees around us, and women are showing flesh. And he said, it's bad enough when men got to come into the house of God and are being tempted, showing your legs, showing cleavage. And I'll go further. The women that don't wear a bra or the soft bra, you know what you're doing. Oh, I'm happily married. Then why are you showing these? And the tight booty shorts. I can dress any way I want. Now I want to stop because there's a common misconception in our land. The church building is not the house of God. That is false. It is a building. We as Christians are the temple of the Holy Spirit. God left the temple. He doesn't dwell in buildings made with human hands anymore. That's what it says. And people who take, the church, they treat it like it's the house or the temple of God. No, it is not. Respect should be given to places of worship, but it is not the house of God. However, women, when you go to church, you need to put your own flesh away. Cover it up. Stop dressing in a way that causes men to stumble when they're trying to hear the truth. I'm struggling with something. I'm struggling with a couple things involving my channel. One of them is watching a guy that was one of my biggest advocators who had discussion with one of the enemies and went to that enemy about a friend that he knew was being harassed. But that same didn't go to him and say, why are you harassing Mike? And I brought that up to him. I said, really? If somebody had talked crap about you or said, I know him, then that's not true. Be very careful of rage baiting YouTube artists. That's not right. Bible talks about avoid those that cause strife. I have another problem. And I need to give some caveats and some disclaimers on my channel to the women and to men. One woman wrote and said, I'm a Christian, but I'm a Democrat. Do you still accept me? I'm not God. And I'm not the holy temple where you have to come before me groveling. You're kind to me. I accept you. I may not agree with you. In fact, I will not agree with you, but it doesn't mean I'm going to ostracize you out. And we'll say, I don't know how you can be a Christian and vote Democrat. I don't know how you can do that. I don't know how you can read the word and think the Democratic Party is the way to go. But I can agree to disagree. I could go to dinner with you. We could probably have a marvelous friendship. Might even have an attraction towards you. I'm not going to agree with you on that. I'm not like most people. Now, I do have lines drawn in the sand. I was talking to somebody last night. Smoke, drink, smoke, drink, smoke, drink. Had told me in the beginning, I need to get control of my life. I need to cut back. I said, you need to stop all the different drugs, all the smoking, the pot, the cigarettes. And I told her last night, I said, man, if you did that stuff in my house and you stunk up my house, I'd be so pissed. Well, I wouldn't do it. I'd do it. I said, I wouldn't even let you live here. I said, because the minute I go off to work, you're going to be sneaking in here. People that are addicted don't give a crap about you. Their addiction is God. And this woman has told me over and over, well, I can't completely quit. I can't do that. I need this. You need this. I have autism and it's good for autism. I said, you know what the word sorcery means in the Bible? I'm going to lay it out right now today, and I'm going to offend a lot of people in this country, including channel fans. You want to legitimize drug use. And people will say, well, if you go to the pharmacy, that's drug use. Hold it. An antibiotic or a prescription to deal with something that's the only way something can be reversed, that's a whole different story than using drugs. And this whole Trojan horse of medicinal marijuana opened the door for recreational marijuana, and now everybody's saying it's okay, even Christians. And I'm going to tell you, know ye not that you are the temple of the Holy Spirit. Bible says, be not drunk with wine, but be controlled by the Spirit. That verse about wine is a principle saying, be not under the influence of pot, crack, opioids, meth, any of that, mushrooms, quaaludes, speed, BBs, barbiturates, angel dust, heroin, whatever. And people get mad at me for that. I had a woman get vile on a comment. You really angered. You said what you said about marijuana. Oh, did I step on your toes because you're addicted? Well, I need it for my pain. Yeah. And this woman sat there as she's lighting up and drinking and lighting up and drinking. And I'm not being disrespectful. You know who you are, and you know I talk about stuff. It's all part of the deal. I'm not harassing you. But when you don't work and you're on disability and you move in a boyfriend in the building that your parents own or paying the bills on, I got a problem with all of that. And you say you want to help people. Get off the drugs, get a job, kick the boyfriend out, and get it together. It's amazing how dominating a woman can be. They want to love me, they want to be in my life, but they got to hold on to all this crap. I'm the head of my house. You do drugs? You're not welcome here. You smoke? You're not welcome here. You drink? You're not welcome here. You do shrooms? And I caught some interaction the other day that disturbed me on my channel, a moderator. Talking about we can get shrooms together. I'm like, I hope that you guys aren't using my platform as a hookup to pass drugs around. Oh my gosh. Not okay. And you know what? When I say this, you are going to run the risk of offending. Be it known to all of you, I have my problems. I don't support drug culture. And I'm not being self-righteous. I have my own struggle with sins. For those that are man or woman enough to say, Michael, I have a problem and I need help. Would you pray for me? Absolutely. But defending, justifying it, rationalizing it, you're never going to get by that with me. I don't care if the laws allow it. Well, Mike, you better never vote against, these vets have worked hard. I said, you know what? Life is hard. You can't deal with life. Go to Jesus, not a drug. But Mike, they got pain. So do I. So do I. And no marijuana is going to solve that. My pains may not be physical, but they're hurt. And I stand in a minority today. When I was in school as a kid, drugs were done by the minority. Watch this. People are not taking me seriously. There are 3 things that stand out at the end of time that we need to be well aware of. And the rest of mankind who were not killed by these plagues did not repent of the works of their hands, so as not to worship demons and the idols of gold and of silver and of brass and of stone and the wood, which can neither see nor hear nor walk. And they did not repent of their murders, nor of their sorceries, nor of their immorality, nor of their thefts. Man, you got the judgment of God crashing down. Not some car crash isolated that the news goes on about that tied up a interstate in Tampa. These judgments are going to be taking out geographical locales. And the people that survived are going to go back to Humpty Dumpty and smoking pot and drinking. Oh yeah, life goes on. Sorceries. The Greek word pharmakia, pharmacy. Drug use has been on the rise. Sexual immorality is on the rise. People aren't satisfied with sex anymore. Hey, honey, let's bring over that couple of friends. Oh, that'd be a great idea. Like Barney Rubble and the Flintstones going to have a foursome. Like I Dream of Jeannie and Bewitched, they're all going to get together and try it out. People are bored. Let's reinvent the wheel. I know a woman in Denver who bragged to me that she was now part of a, what the heck did she call it? A throuple. A throuple. Girls come up with these weird terms. She, as a single woman, was involved with a boyfriend and girlfriend. That didn't last long. They threw her out. She's a leech and a parasite. I took her to dinner a couple times and she was a mooch and a half. And then she'd call out from work on a regular basis and complain about no money. I said, well, honey, you call out all the time. But Mike, I don't feel good. I said, you know what, Mary? You would message me on my phone before I start my bus route. So I won't be in today. I don't feel good. I'm sorry. I hope you feel better. Get well soon. And before my route's done, I get a text. Can you come pick me up and take me to lunch? I thought you were sick. Yeah, but I'm feeling better, so why don't you come to work? I said, if you're sick, I don't want to be around you and get it. Oh, she didn't expect that. You know, when you're gone, it affects other people. I hated being a bus driver, and these other bus drivers said, I'm sick of my kids. I ain't going to be here tomorrow. I said, you know what? You're selfish. I said, you not being here, I have to do your route, and those kids are horrible. And then they'll start fights with my kids. You got to think about others, man. We don't just do two separate routes. We throw them all in the same bus. Boy, that's fun. It don't work. I'm sorry, folks. If my views offend, I'm sorry. That's just the way I am. Everybody else can say that's just the way I am. That's just the way I am. That is the way that God has fashioned me. Don't you wish your girlfriend was hot like me? Don't you? Not really. Depends. Drugs has taken over the world. There's so much discussion about it. Christians now defending, talking about pot. You can't live life. Then they hide it. Oh, I got pain. I got aches. I have to have it. No, you don't. What did they do 100 years ago before there was pot? Rationalizing sin, justifying it, sitting there telling me you want to help other people that were in prison because you were in jail or whatever. I said, you need to fix you right now. And I like this person. I care about her. But last night I said, I don't like doing video. And she just, it's nonstop. She's almost half my age. And she's pissing and smoking her whole existence away. Well, I can't totally stop. I said, whatever. It's not going to fly by me. I said, I love you. And I care about you. And I got a soft spot in my heart for you. But I said, you need to stop it. On all levels. You got alcoholism. You got drugs and mushrooms and all this. And then one of my moderators is saying, hey, we can do this. I'm like, oh, crap. Yeah. What do you do when you have to talk to a friend of yours and say, hey, one of your friends and I had a talk and this was the outcome of this, and I'm not comfy with this. Guess what the answer is? Michael Nelson is going to do what Michael needs to do. Even if it means somebody gets offended, even if it means somebody says, well, fine, I won't even come here anymore. That's not what I'm hoping is the outcome. But if people are here for truth, and that truth just happens to get you between the eyes, you're going to take your ball and go home, or you're going to suck it up and say, Mike, you're right. I'm sorry. I need to hear this. Truth is very hard. You're telling me you need help and you got to stop all this drinking. You need to stop it entirely because you can't just have a little bit. Well, I can't go total abstinence, Mike. I can't do it. I said, because you don't want to. And I said, in the minute you take a drink, well, shoot, let me grab one more bottle. My pastor, actually in Sunday school weeks ago, said, drug addicts and alcoholics, you can't hang out with them because unless they're willing to change, they're just going to continue to justify, rationalize, and drag you down. And that's exactly what's happening. I'm like, you know what? It's not that I think I'm better than you. I'm not. But it's like I really don't want to have a discussion. We always come back to my mushrooms and my hallucinogens and my this, and I have to. I said, can we stop talking about this? Well, I just hope that you don't vote down the. I said, I'm going to vote it down every chance I get. Do you think they should legalize marijuana? No, I don't. Stinks. There's behavior, there's a lifestyle that goes with it. I'm sick of it. I drove the bus, and I'm tired of people writing me. Well, I know you had a bad experience, but no. You want to do pot? That's your business. I ain't going to tell you to get off my channel. But don't tell me that it's okay and it's right, because it ain't. Just like if I'm married and I go cheat on my wife, it's not right. Getting drunk is not right. Getting high is not right. Oh, but if you use prescription drugs, I'd stay away from that. But if I got something only antibiotic can clear up, I'm going to go get an antibiotic. I've never been addicted to antibiotics. When you have the views I do and you see the things I see, you're going to be a lightning rod. That's all there is to it. And this young woman who gave me this false gospel of health, wealth, and prosperity doesn't come to church after that last interaction for 4 weeks and shows up, Monday with their sexy legs in full display. And my pastor even said she aggressively seeks the attention of other men. She's a stumbling block, claiming to be so spiritual, saying that she read the Bible and the Bible's convinced her that men are supposed to be wealthy. And guess what, men? Guess what? I'm watching something unfold at work. Guy I work with has an interest in the slender, petite lady up in the office who's in the sales department. And they have company chat. They call it the community text. The president will say, go ahead and have so-and-so send a community text to me, and I'll remember to find out if the customer will accept shipment minus the 2 items. The community text can be read by all of management. And he's been having to write the one who prints some of the big tickets, and there's been this flirting back and forth. I said, what is this? He told me that they like each other, and which I'm not against that. I said, just be careful about all this written stuff. Somebody sees this, you could get called into HR. You got to watch that crap. I said, is she even remotely interested in you? At the company lunch, she's got her back to everybody in the room. I am not interested in a woman who cannot put her phone down. And I'm very close to having another rule. Women that cannot live without their phone and live on the social media and the texting and all that, not a good fit for Michael. How many other guys is she texting and liking and hearting? Women today love attention, and you will never be able to know. And I don't want to live the kind of life where I have to ask, can I see your phone and what you're doing in there? I don't even want to go down that road. I'm an open book. I've had some flirts. I've had some girls I had an interest in. They've all fizzled, all of them, because they made it fizzle. Oh, I would love to date you, blah, blah, blah. Have a couple conversations in text and poof, puff the magic dragon, gone again. And I'm thinking, I'm smart enough to ascertain, I already know if they do hook up, this will not last. And what's really going to be fun, because I look at her, she's narcissistic. When I've had to come and bring the day's pick tickets stamped to her, she'll never say, "Hey, Michael, how are you?" You can tell, she's rude. She's one of those women where we should bow to her. And, you know, this is the world we live in, folks. And I won't bow. I don't say anything. I come up, I hold him out. Thanks. I don't even respond. I turn, walk out the door. I will not bow to a narcissist man or woman. I will not bow to an authority trip man. And I'm going to tell you something. They notice that. And they will force a confrontation. It's inevitable. My advice to all of you, handle yourself appropriately at work so that if it does happen, you can defend yourself in the principal's office. Just say, I was doing this. He came up and did this, and this is how I responded. I don't like this Dave. He's a godless clown. If his wife, and maybe she does know, if his wife knew what he was doing and the way he goes and runs up and sucks up to the black postal worker loading his stuff in her truck. I mean, you got all this stuff to do, and you come from your end of the world all the way down here every time that truck pulls up. I, as a boss, would be saying, is there any reason you're coming down to the shipping department? That's Mike and the shipping clerk and our job. Just an aside, you're a married man. Well, I'm being a gentleman. Men, you do not need to be a gentleman to other people's women. I'm so tired of that crap. We know what's going on. They got a song that they play out here at every party. I've heard it. Me and my side piece. Me and my side piece. Oh, yeah. That is woven into the culture out here. Go back to Diana Ross. I love that song Upside Down because I like the music to it more than anything else. Love that music. I'm aware that you're cheating, but no one makes me feel like you do. I have never seen a community so feelings driven than the African American women. They love feelings. I'm very aware of the soul and the heartbeat of the African American community. Women, they get schmoozed and hustled so quick out here. And those same women will rail against whites. Have you ever dated a white guy? There's whites in around just dating you. And you talk about whites and you diss them and you defend your culture. And your men just use you and abuse you and wander off the minute you have a kid. And most of them out here don't even go after them for child support. What? I had a woman at work. She'd been married a few times, or should I say had boyfriends where she had babies. None of them are paying child support. None. She'll come up and ask if I'll give her money. You're my girlfriend, no. I mean, I helped her out a little bit a couple of times, then I stopped. One day I sent her a text. I said, you and I work for the same place. I am not an ATM. Stop asking. Well, why don't you just lose my number? You don't have to get so mad about it. I said, I didn't get angry, but you always ask for money. What are you doing for me? You know, you ask everybody to help you out. What are you doing? You go after a deadbeat loser guy in your community. I actually had an interest in you. You don't want that. Because whatever dysfunction you got, you're afraid to tell anybody you have an interest in a white guy. I don't ask me for money. Don't ask me for a dime. You got to be bold, got to be wiser. If you into me, then shrug off the cultural norms and say, I'm done with you all. I don't have racial hangups. A woman want to date me? I don't give a crap what society thinks. I'll walk down Main Street in any town and say, me and my bae. I haven't gotten the luxury of dating a black woman here because most of them, and politically, we are miles apart. And there's a bunch of other things that go that I'm not willing to deal with. The in debt, the lack of managing finances, bad kids in tow, and the family dynamic. I dated a black woman when we were married. Her relatives are going to come over here, and if they want to light up a pot, they're going to do it, not at my house. And they will stand at my house and go, what do you mean? What I mean is that this is my castle. It won't work. It won't work. So I find myself looking back to my own culture and saying, I've tried. This is not going to fly. Way too much dog crap to wade through. Too much. I have no problem falling in love with a black woman, but I don't want to marry her family and all the dysfunction that goes with it. No thanks. That black woman would have to be like me. Contrary to normal. She's black and proud to be black, but she's not part of all that crap that goes on in her community. Michael, I date you, I marry you. You don't have to worry about me bringing dead dogs over because I don't like any of my family. They're messed up. That'd be the perfect one. We both are virtually the same that way. And that's what it caused me to date foreign and racial women, is because, you know, I was in a 14-year marriage, and before all this happened, I started to see things in our culture that were just so detrimental. Caucasian culture. One of those is the obsession with dogs, the obsession with Starbucks, the obsession with Christmas and buying and spending on trinkets and bric-a-brac and holiday feel-good and nothing based in truth. Very hard to find a passionate woman. They're cookie cutter on a cookie sheet. Dress barn. I want to thank Anthony in Cleveland for that one. I told him the other day, I said, I have taken your statement and I use it every chance I get. Dress barn has gone totally online. There are things about Caucasian culture I disdain. The obsession with fast food. Oh my gosh, I see people just spend so much money. I see a guy bring his cooler to work. I bring my own snacks to work. I can't eat fast food. It's junk. But you take your hard-earned money and you're going to pay $10 for a crappy Happy Meal. at a McDonald's. Then you wonder where your disposable income went. I don't honestly believe I'm going to find a mate. Deep down inside, God may not even want me to have one. And I am a man. I see skin, it affects me. I see nice legs or, you know, a woman's body, it's hard not to want that. But I look at that girl that the shipping shack guy is all about. I'm thinking that is not a good thing. She's addicted to her phone. She can sit in a room at lunch and not face people and interact with anybody but her phone. I want to say something to you ladies that you cannot put your damn phone down in a room full of people is very telling about how deeply immature you are. That you're in public. Even when I went to the Soul Bar, I found myself using my phone because nobody's interacting. They're drinking. These guys got their women with them, and the girl sitting there drinking. Dressed all provocative. I looked at the men in there. I'm like, wow, you got an exciting chick tonight. Draining your wallet to get drunk. And she's got a relationship with her phone, not you. That there is the most telling thing about a female to me. If she's glued to that phone, it's over before it even goes. I took Debbie on a date. Wheat Ridge, Colorado. New Year's Eve, we went to Red Lobster in Arvada. First date. I had a flip phone. I turned the ringer off. It's in my pocket. When I go on a date, I focus on her. We'd ordered our food. We're talking. Her phone rings. Hello? It's an ex-boyfriend. She's getting mad. She suddenly forgets she's in a restaurant full of New Year's Eve celebrators, and she's being rather loud, and she's heated, and I motioned her, I'm going to go to the bathroom. And she go, okay. I go in the bathroom. I sit on the toilet, open my phone. I said, well, this date that you were wondering how it was going to go, she's in the restaurant, her phone rang, and she's arguing with an ex-boyfriend. I'll let you know how the rest of the evening goes. Woo! I come back. She's off the phone, and she's all lathered up. Mad. I try to console her. He wanted to come tonight and get the stuff out of that room. I said, how long ago did you break up? Oh, like 6 months ago. So, Debbie, all you have to do is say, I'm on a date right now. That's not going to happen. She's stressed about it for the entire rest of the dinner. Nothing is more fun than taking a beautiful woman to Red Lobster who answers her phone, and her personal drama is now part of the evening. Ladies, you got problems. And you want to talk about us men? I've been on date after date, and they're a joke. Haven't dated in 8 years. The money I've saved by not dating is amazing. The headaches I've saved by not dating is equally amazing. The sanity of mind I get living alone, where I can view things objectively and not based on this thing down here, is amazing. And I want a woman, but I watch women are so contrary to us in every way. And I ask the question, what is a woman good for me? Nothing. They ain't going to cook. They ain't going to massage my back. If I'm lucky, I might get a good lay once. What is the point? And then you go to church anywhere American, they're condemning men in their lust, but silent about the woman. I finally see a pastor blast the woman. Now everybody in his church was dressed up in dresses, suits, and ties. I refuse to wear a suit and tie. Jesus is fascinating. Jesus did not put on a Sunday suit on the Sabbath when he went into the synagogue. Let that sink in. John the Baptist wore camel's hair. I imagine when you say he looked like a prophet, you better believe he did. And I think a lot of Christians in America, they look at the icing on the cake instead of the cake, which is moldy and got worms in it. And we're so caught up in the external packaging, and that's just why Americans get duped over and over and over again with political leaders. They got their glossy, slick ads and TV commercials. Are you tired of the corruption watch? Oh, yeah, I am. Why? I'm going to vote for him. He's going to end the corruption. Liar, liar, pants on fire. He hustled you for a votey. And we do it. And it's stupid. The people stealing the money, the people costing us so much, are the ones that graduated from college, got a degree, and are wearing suits and ties. It isn't people dressed like me. We're not destroying the country. And I take issue even with that preacher that I can dress modestly, but I'm not going to dress what they consider professional. I'm not a professional. I'm not a professional. Thank you, God. Professional is a way to act. This Bible doesn't ever tell us to act. It says, be holy, for I am holy. Be tenderhearted. It does not ever tell us to act. The word professional is not in Holy Writ. Somebody came back and says, well, it talks about skilled workers. Yes, skilled in masonry and woodwork. That's not a professional. That's skilled. I have skills. I can drive a twuck. I can drive a big twuck and I don't have to go woo, woo, woo. I have control. I loved when I had my Deuce and these lift kit, overpriced tin can Silverados pull up. And the truck just sits higher than that, mine. And suddenly I watch these guys think they're all that until they pull up and they're like, wow, that thing's pretty huge. Yeah, I didn't even buy a lift kit for it, buddy. The differential's what? This high off the ground? You're still going to scrape your oil pan. People are funny. I'm glad that God gave me a love for knowledge and discernment and unpacking things. Not everybody has that. I don't know how you deal with the kind of people I work with in any setting. It's hard. It's, I have flesh too and I get mad. I'm human. Excuse me. Get those morning sneezes. And I cannot change people like that. It's a discipline. I'm starting to tell myself, let the peace of God rule in your heart. That's how we have to approach stuff that grinds your gears. One thing I learned driving a school bus is the way you drive your bus is going to be noticed by your students. Grinding gears, rough on the brakes, hitting the curb hard. Nobody likes that. I'd be smooth as shifting. I had a bus, you had a double clutch to avoid grinding. And the kids noticed, man, this guy can drive. Remember the first time I started driving a bus, they had those mirrors out on the end of the hood. The convex, I call them the cat eye ones, and they stuck out so far. It was like 12 feet from this mirror post to this. I'm like, dang, this thing's longer than a bed. You don't just have your hood, but you got these brackets. And I remember I turned out from a middle school in Duluth, turned left, and I hit a dang snow pole and clipped that hood mirror. And the guy training me as a mechanic, and he'd, don't worry about it. I'll replace it when I get back. He said, yeah, you got to watch when you turn the streets now, and the cars all crowd up in there. And I mean, it was a learning experience. You had to be aware not just of your bus, but all that stuff that hung out. And people come down Federal Boulevard or Alameda. They were narrow lanes. And these trucks, the city bus, they're not paying attention to their extremities. School bus in the left lane stopped by traffic, and the city bus come blasting down the right lane. His mirror clip and break the right side school bus mirror and keep driving. I can't tell you how many times I heard drivers call and said, the DTA just got my mirror. Or the moose antler pickups. That was really cute. The Dodge with the Bullwinkle mirrors, it stuck way the heck out like a moose. I said, boys, that's stupid. At 3 foot out. And they're going to go down these narrow streets. And you saw it. The two posts and hanging down by the side of the door. Yeah, when you're in the city, you might want to pull them things in. Dum-dums. I swear, I'd see a Dodge that looked like Bullwinkle coming at me. Hey, Rocky Lee! There go my antlers! Ah! People are stupid. Life is dumb. And it just amazes me that people thinking, professing to be wise are fools. They just don't get it. And there's days I groan inside too, waiting for the redemption, waiting for the sound of the trumpet. I want to leave the world. God has given me the ability to see. I'm a homeowner, but I long for the day when I own nothing and will be happy. I don't have to pay the taxes, the maintenance. It'll be nice to be in heaven. No more utilities, no more taxes, no more working by the sweat of my brow. God owns it all and he's going to let me enjoy it. I want that. It's freeing. We're a slave to the system. We're a slave to our home, slave to utilities, slave to the job. We have to watch what we say. We have to submit to bosses. We have to, too many games to play. In heaven, we're going to be in our glorified body and we won't have to watch this or watch what we say. We'll be made, we'll be perfect. I can't imagine what that's going to look like. There's no more neurotic behavior. You know, nobody looking at each other going, I don't like her. That'll be gone in heaven. With upturned faces, we'll be seeing the glory of God in each other, and it's not going to be like anything we know here. Thank you for listening, people. I talk about these things Not always coming to a perfect solution, but talk about it so that you can understand if you're going through it, you're not alone. It's either easier to deal with machinery than people. I love machinery. Treat it right, it'll treat you right. Treat people wrong, they'll abuse you, hurt you, cut you, injure you. Machine, you take care of it. You can do your job and have fun. Those that are Christians, God bless. Those that are not, read the Gospel of John, read the book of Genesis, and get into the Word. This world ain't no joke. It's coming to an end one day. Are you ready?